Back to a Friday special on Expressive. Normally on Friday we'll do something light and something fun, but this morning we'll combine some fun, some entertainment with some politics and some really topical issues. We're glad to welcome to our show, our new show, for the first time, our friend Elvis AFRIYIE ANKRAH, who is the Director of Elections of the NDC. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Good
Dapper.
morning.
You look good.
Good to see you.
It's a suave look you have.
You guys, yeah.
It's been a minute.
I'm telling you, it's great to see you live.
It's great to
After
see
so
you.
many, a couple of years.
Yeah,
I haven't
yes,
seen you guys for some
yes.
I
years.
think the last time I saw you was
Was in his office?
I think so. Or at the award show, one of them. One award show,
Okay.
one
Office.
one
You
trip to
went
the
to
office.
interview
Yeah, I
him,
remember
yeah.
that. We did a quick interview
Very
with him.
quick.
Also.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
Looking well and very handsome.
You too.
The people
Looking
on
great.
at home would don't know, but you really took care
Take
of
care
yourself
of
on the
yourself.
stage before yourself.
Oh, it's grace.
You're a handsome man.
Yeah, it's
I heard the
grace.
definition of handsome is there's something in your hand, which means you have money.
Handsome.
Song.
Okay.
So are you?
For me, the most important is grace.
I like that.
That
I
is
like
the
that.
most important.
I like that.
Grace is everything.
How's the life of a politician these days?
Very challenging.
Especially being a member of the opposition NDC.
Very challenging. People are disappointed in the government, and they have great expectations of us, and it puts a heavy burden on us to deliver, to put in place whatever mechanisms that we can to ensure that we rescue this country. So there's a heavy sense of responsibility. There's a heavy sense of mission. It's a burden on us in leadership.
Interesting stuff.
Wow.
We'll come to all of that.
We'll definitely will come to that. Well, it's Friday. Normally on Fridays on our show, we go very
We'll do
light.
something fun.
But we have you. We cannot just go light just like that. But of course, since we have you, would go there a bit. You have worked with most of our ex-presidents. You've worked with Rawlings, you've worked with Samuels, you've worked with John Mahama. I mean, talk us through how you've worked with them, closely. How do they unwind? How do they, relax
How
in
do
this when
presidents
there's
unwind?
tension in the system?
Okay, so for former President Rawlings, he does many things, he rides horses, but one of the things he likes and which we do for him on his birthday is that he likes grilled pork.
Oh, really?
So there's a guy who does grilled pork,
Oh, wow.
He spices it overnight with wine and other
Wow.
things. And then on his birthday, we carry it to him, like huge like that. And I remember the first time we took it to him, he looked at it and said, "This looks good, good." Then he opened it, then cut a little piece and tasted it. Then he said, "Well, you guys, what are you still doing here? You brought the pork? you guys can leave." And we all laughed, but eventually he shared it with us. So, he's fun. He's great fun. His personality is fun. And Professor Mills, look, of course, they are not here, so they can't deal with me. Professor Mills liked chofi and bread.
Interesting.
Coffee and bread. Never tasted it.
Oh, wow.
Chofi and bread.
Chofi and bread.
And his wife didn't like him to be taking it, so we usually took it when we're traveling. When we got to
When there's no wife there. When there's no wife around.
Sogakope Bridge.
Yeah.
And we'll buy chofi and bread. And Neil and take and bear testimony to this.
Wow.
Chofi and bread.
And bread.
Wow.
President Mahama, he is more into IT.
Oh, tech.
So he's very techy. So sometimes if it's a long distance travel, I'm sure you've seen a few photos of him with this pod in his ear, listening
on
to
iPads,
different kinds of music. But he has very good taste.
Taste.
So
he's the cool guy.
but he also works out a lot. That's what people don't know.
Right.
I don't know if he still does, but that's why he's very fit. He has so much energy. He works out a lot. I mean, those days he was doing like 2 or 3 hours a day.
Oh, wow.
Early morning before everything else. So by the time he comes to office, he's solid.
Oh, yeah.
How about you? What do you do to
What do you do?
relax?
I used to walk a lot.
You used to walk?
A lot. I walk. I mean, anybody who lives around East Legon knows. I mean, I'm always on the streets,
Right.
And then on weekends, I'll go and walk up the Legon Hill, behind the vice chancellors. We used to call it Accra by night. You know, a lot of things happened there.
Accra by night.
Behind the vice chancellor's lodge, beautiful scenery. When you're there, you see the whole of Accra. I mean, imagine walking there in the night, you know, with the lights and everything. Beautiful. So I used to walk a lot, so my life changed. Now I can't walk that much. But
Now you're very busy.
I try to work out internally. You know. I love music too. I have what do you call it? About 5 or 6 or so flash drives. You know. Number one is gospel. So I have praise, worship. Then I have reggae. I love reggae. You know. And then, of course, I have
that's a reggae queen.
We're in the same boat.
Oh, okay. Oh my, I mean, I love reggae.
That's Buju Banton.
Who's your favorite?
You take away gospel reggae any day. I mean, there's something about reggae.
Yeah.
I tell people that you don't need to hide. If you listen to
You
reggae
you actually
continuously
don't.
for 1 hour,
That's
believe me,
it.
you'll be transported to another realm.
That's
Believe
true.
me, there's something about it.
So you don't need to hide self to
No.
enjoy the reggae.
No. I mean, there's something, you know, Buju, you talked
Yeah.
about, you know, Bob Marley, you know, you listen, there's something,
Great
you know,
songs,
and I tell people, pay attention to the backbeats. And the last time I was having a conversation with somebody and we were listening to reggae and I said, are you hearing the backbeats? He said, you know, I said, can't you hear
Listen.
it? Sometimes the tick-tock, tick-tock,
Yeah.
tick-tock.
Yeah.
You know? You know? So that's the kind of thing.
Interesting. For the younger generation watching this morning, let's chronicle your life as a politician, and let's look at how much experience you've gained over the years working with all of these people, and now yourself being in pole position to, you know, make advancements in your own political career. How did politics start for you?
Okay, so let's say that I'd always been interested in politics, and even before I entered secondary school, I used to read a lot. Those days it was West Africa Magazine and Time Magazine. So by the time I got into the university, I was really very politically alive. And I was pro Rawlings. Rawlings was my hero, my mentor. And I had his pictures in my room and everything. So 1994, some friends came and said, look, it's time for SRC elections. Why don't you contest? I said, well, you know, and I did a little survey. And I looked at it, I had a good chance. And then there was something that some people tried to use against me, which I turned around. You know, I'm half Ebe. My mother is partly from Achiavi, and my mother's father is from Dodi Papasis. So I'm actually from Volta region, Oti region, and my dad is Ashanti.
Okay.
So they were saying, oh, this guy is an Ebe boy, you know, so his NDC. So I went to the Ashanti Students Union. I went to pick their leaders and made them my campaign managers. So I was getting votes from the Ashanti, and I was getting the Volta votes, and of course the Volta vote, and of course the Volta Hall. If you want to win an election, don't joke with the women. Once you have the women, the support of the women, half of the job is done. So I had the support of Volta. So that's how I started as SRC president. That year, I think I won with a landslide. I know the second person had double the votes he had. And during our tenure, we did a lot of things. What people do not know is that Radio Universe, as you see there, was established under our administration.
Oh, wow.
And it was the first Radio Universe that was radio station that was authorized by the then government. We did a lot of things, you know, exchange programs, which have never happened before. So from there, I went to work at Mechanical Lloyd as a sales executive. Those days, life was good.
You've seen a lot of Benz.
Oh yeah, man.
Benzes,
BMW, brand new, you know. Imagine driving. And those days, I used to wear tie. Thank God I'm not in those days again. I don't like tie. So then in 2000, I was called upon to come and represent the party at Ayawaso West Wogon.
Okay.
I thought it was going to be, so I asked for a leave of absence. And the company said, once you enter politics, you have to resign. So I resigned and went into that contest. That was a year of change. You know, when I go campaigning, people look at me and say, oh, we like you. By your party, you've been around for too long. 19 years. So
that was after the Rawlings era.
Exactly.
Right.
So, and then In 2002, when Professor Mills was coming back to contest for the primaries, I was called upon to be his deputy campaign spokesperson. And there's a funny story. I had done my master's. I did my master's in international relations at Lesia. And I had actually gone to the ECOWAS secretariat to submit my application and everything. And I was told I'll be hearing from them in a few weeks because I wanted to do international relations, ECOWAS, UN.
Okay.
That was my dream and vision, but full-time politics wasn't part of it.
Oh, okay.
And then Mr. Atuahoy prevailed upon me. It was very difficult. I mean, imagine you having prospects to go to ECOWAS to earn some good dollars. And then he said, come and join political party in opposition, you know. But I did, and I don't regret it. So we took myself, Ludwig Hoje, Ojo, and then the security people who took Professor Mills around this country several times.
Right.
And then after that, the main campaign, Professor Alabi was the campaign coordinator, and I was the deputy campaign coordinator for the 2004 election, for the main election. So I was deputy for the primaries and deputy for the main elections.
Right.
Then came AKUFO ADDO Congress, and I contested as a deputy general secretary, 2005, and I also won by a landslide. And then with Honorable Asidun Ketia, together with Baba Jamal. So I was made deputy general secretary in charge of operations.
Right.
So it also gave me the opportunity to work closely with people like Captain Kojo Chikata, because operations involve security and a whole lot of things. So for the 2008 elections, I was in charge of operations for the whole party. And then we won. And then I was made deputy minister for local governments. That also gave me the opportunity to know the country.
Know the country.
You know, I was working with the district chief executives, the party hierarchy, and all that. So it's
a lot of progress.
Yeah.
There's a lot of progress.
You know, and then of course, Director of Elections 2018. What people do not know is that I was in school. I was in Jimpa. I was doing law.
Whilst you were Director of Elections,
and I was called, and it got to a point I just couldn't combine. Because the Director of Elections job, if you want to do it well, it's very intense, especially under the circumstances with this EC and all that. So I couldn't combine the two, and I had to sacrifice one.
That's
So you
interesting.
sacrifice the schooling.
Yes.
Okay. I'm sure you've told us your story, but there's one very critical incident you left out. But we have it.
Okay.
So let's take a look. When we come back,
video.
he'll tell us more about it.
Okay. Okay.
My two siblings, Yao and Jennifer. I know Yao and AKUFO ADDO is my backbone. They were born in the UK. So I left. I was the only one born here. And when I was 7 years old, my auntie came for me to Accra, and I started school, St. Michael's, then went to Saito, then eventually Datus Preparatory. Then after Datus, then I went to Kwapmine Secondary School, did my O-levels, completed in 84, and then I packed bag and baggage and left to the UK, that I wasn't going to come back again. When I came back from the UK, imagine a 19-year-old guy who had left Ghana at 17 and said he's not coming back. And due to some difficulties and challenges, I had to come back abruptly and come and start all over again, do my A-level. So at a point, I became very depressed. So I actually attempted suicide, you know, at the age of 19. And I didn't die. Can you imagine you want to die and you won't die? And the doctor said, the kinds of things you've put in your stomach, you should be dead. And I didn't die.
Interesting
Wow.
stuff. Interesting
So you
stuff.
took a decision to take your life.
Yes.
But
It
you still
didn't
didn't
end
die.
there.
No, I didn't die.
And you're here
Because
today.
God had a purpose for
We
me.
know you as a motivational speaker. You're a preacher. And normally we do this on the show. We motivate people. I want you to look into the camera that in these times, trying times, economic difficulties, people are suffering. Tell us something encouraging. Motivate us.
Okay, before the
Before
show
we
ends,
go
I'll
on.
give you 2 copies of my book,
Right.
7 Steps to Fulfilling Your Purpose in
Oh.
Life.
Oh.
And those 7 steps are, first of all, you must have believe in your purpose and your vision. I mean, if you look at the story of my life, it was very clear to me that God had a purpose for me coming back to Ghana. At that age, it was very difficult. UK, those days, it wasn't easy like this, where today people go and eat breakfast in
And
London
come back.
and come back and eat dinner in Accra. Those days, to even get visa to go, And I was there, settling there and everything, and I had to come back to start all over. It was very difficult. I thought that was the end of my life. But if I look back, I realized that God has a purpose for everybody. And your mission in life is to discover that purpose. Once you discover that purpose, irrespective of the circumstances, once you pursue that purpose, God will be with you. So we are here in Ghana today. Things are extremely difficult, but as individuals, we must use this opportunity to develop ourselves, to develop our skills and talents. It is in times of difficulty that we grow. So let's use this horrible time, and I'm not underestimating what is going on. These are horrible times. The country is on autopilot. It appears as if there's no government. Let's use this time to build ourselves up, develop our talent and skills, so that when the right time comes and we have a proper and better government, which will be an NDC government, you would have used this time to add value to yourself, to be able to do something positive.
Great motivation
for yourself and the country.
And I'd like to listen to a full preaching said by you one day. But let me ask you: you love God, obviously. You're a motivator. You're a preacher as well. Shouldn't this country build a cathedral for the Lord?
You see, ordinarily, under normal circumstances, if there's going to be a cathedral to the glory of God, why not? But this is my purely personal view. First of all, the circumstances under which this whole cathedral thing is being done doesn't glorify God. Okay? There's no truth. God is a God of truth and light. So when you're going to build a cathedral, you tell us this is going to be done by the people, not by the state. And it turns out that you take prime land, okay? Prime land, demolish buildings for that so-called cathedral. There's a problem. And then the costs kept on going up. But for me, I thought that even if you were going to do a cathedral, if you were very far-sighted, Pram area is supposed to be an extension of the capital. So I would have thought that use the cathedral as a catalyst, okay, for development. Go and find land in Pram and build the cathedral. Once you do that, you will then be able to attract the value of land. Everything will go up. People will be able to build other ancillary facilities there, and so many things will go on. Then you are drawing the capital away from Accra, which is our plan. But now, look at the traffic situation. Look at the National Theatre. Look at the Conference Center. Look at Parliament. So there's some, there wasn't proper thinking about it. That's my personal view.
I actually really like your personal view.
That is assuming that you even build it. I don't think, and people may not be happy with this. Nana AKUFO ADDO is not qualified to build a cathedral.
He's not qualified.
So if it was under another circumstances, for instance, they were telling us the truth about the cathedral, it was at a different location.
Different location, and it's not state funded.
You would support it.
Because it doesn't make sense.
Would you have supported it if it was another?
Very important. It's not just different circumstances, but the funding.
Right.
It doesn't make sense. God doesn't live in cathedrals. God does not live in cathedral. God is a spirit. He lives in us.
Right. You say it's not qualified.
Then I'll come to that.
Qualification.
Yes, I'll come to that. So, and if for you to do something to glorify God, you must come with clean hands. Okay.
Right.
So if the whole cathedral thing is based on falsehood and lies, God is not pleased. Secondly, this is a president under whose tenure we went into an election and 8 people have been murdered. Nobody likes talking about it. 8 souls. People were shot, killed. I'm the director of elections. The Chiman, Takwan, Swayem, Esikado, Ketan, name it. People were murdered in cold and nobody's asking questions. You under your watch, people are murdered for during an election, and you want to go and build a cathedral.
So what was he supposed to do? You're saying people have been murdered, and so that's why he's not qualified to build a cathedral. He doesn't have clean hands.
Yes.
So what is he? Okay.
So if he takes any action to find out and discipline those who were involved, then
he becomes more qualified.
Then you know that he doesn't tolerate these things, but he's a beneficiary of the violence. You understand me? We won 142 seats. Through violence, they stole 5.
Do you think that election was stolen?
137. Oh yeah, absolutely. We won 137 seats. I'm speaking as director. 142
Elections.
seats. Okay, 5 of them. Techiman, Takwan Swayim, Esikado, Ketan, name it. And these matters are in court. They killed people.
Who killed people?
So-called, they were guys, you saw the videos. They were not even regular police,
forces, the guys in the
forces.
brown stuff.
And it started with Ayawaso West Wagon, where people were beaten, a member of parliament was slapped, and then they asked that there was a commission of inquiry. They gave a white paper. The president has not taken action. So it means that he endorses such violence. So for me, I think that, and that cathedral, it's obvious, isn't it?
You don't think it will be built in the next 2 years? Because the president
Would
made
you
a statement
build
this week. Was it this week or last week saying that
He said that's for the cathedral.
it's going to happen?
You know, I think it's a certain mentality that people think that once you do something so-called in the name of God, then it is justified, and it justifies every other thing that you do. You know, I'd rather use that money to pay NAPCO graduates, nurses who have not been paid, you know, schools. I mean, look at the situation. Before we left office, we had built over 2,000 schools under trees. How many schools under trees has this government built? Nothing is going on in this country. There's so much. When it rains, look at the state of our hospitals. You know, so for me, it does not make sense.
Right.
If the Christian community decide that, look, we want to build a place where we're going to have big conventions, just like the Pentecost people have done, and voluntary contributions and all that, that's a completely different thing. But the president doesn't come out to say, we want to build a cathedral, it's going to be funded by the Christian community, and then it turns out that it's the state that is funding it at this crucial time. It just doesn't make sense.
I think your point has been well made. But today we're here to talk about you, and you're contesting for General Secretary.
Yes.
I want to know, I mean, why are you contesting for General Secretary and not probably National Organizer or something else?
Okay, so per the party's constitution, the General Secretary is the Chief Executive Officer of the party.
Right.
So he runs and manages the party, and he's also the chief spokesman of the party. He's the overall campaign coordinator of the party. So if you look at my background and experience in the party, as I said, I started campaigning for Prof, then I became a deputy general secretary. So I've been acting general secretary. Oftentimes when Honorable Asiedu Nketia is out of the country, I act in a step. So I understand the job. Number 2, I understand the party. You know, the party is at a very critical stage. We're going into 2024 elections. For the first time, we don't have a Rawlings, we don't have a Captain Chikata, we don't have the Professor Awonos. Many of our veterans have passed away. And it's a major challenge to us. There's also a generational shift. You have the Rawlings people or Rawlings generation. You have Professor Mills people. And then you have President Mahama. And then you have the young crop of people, the millennials, generation X or Z. They really are not bothered about Rawlings or anything. They just feel that they want to join NDC or work with NDC. They don't like the MPP, but they really don't have the historical antecedent. They don't understand it. So you need somebody who can relate to all these people.
Okay.
I relate very well with the Rawlings. I mean, the Rawlings people and all this. So the cadres have extremely close relations. I'm not talking about casual relationships, deep. I mean, Rawlings, you know, we've had our issues. Sometimes public, private, we disagree. But everybody knows that I'm a Rawlings boy. Okay?
Right.
That's chairman.
Yeah, you know, no more. We disagree sometimes, but, you know, at Mills, I was his son. I'm very close to him. So the Mills people feel very comfortable with me.
Right.
As for President Mahama, my brother. Mahama. There's a science to that thing, but later on we'll talk about it. I mean, I announced him as running mate. I was his campaign coordinator, and I've stood by him all these years. All the other potential aspirants, I have very good relations with them. I've talked about the cadets, I've talked about the seniors, and then the younger generation. Because I teach, I was a lecturer in the university, I was a lecturer at UPSA, you know, from 2005 to 2009. I was head of English and Communication Department. And then subsequently, because of the work that I do with the youth, elvisinspires.org. Incidentally, Bernard Avler is my partner. We work together with the Drolo Center for Strategic Leadership. So it's a partnership that we have. We've been doing motivational programs in various tertiary institutions. So I know how to engage the younger generation. Now, I have a son on this building.
No, you
Yes,
don't?
eh?
Yeah. I have 4 children. 3 of them have finished university, and one of them is here.
So
He's an
you
IT guy.
understand the youth.
I
You
understand the
understand
youth. I
the
know how to
history
do
of the
it.
party.
And then there is a new paradigm in terms of political organization. You know, it's not just the field work, but it's also about research. It's about data analytics. I understand those things.
Okay.
And more importantly, 2020, I was the director of elections. And I say this with trepidation because we did not go into the 2020 elections to do well. We went into the elections to win. However, because of the violence and so many other things, it did not happen. But even if you look at the numbers, and when we were in office, 2016, we had 44 point something percent. Okay? An opposition party after one term, the MPP outspent us by a ratio of about 100 to 1. That's why we are in this mess. They
100 to 1.
Oh, yes. They spent so much. Haven't
big.
you heard of the vice chairman of the MPP in one of the regions in the north who said that she alone was given 1 million cedis just from one stream? Okay? The money we give to our parliamentary candidates is not even up to 50,000. So if somebody got one, and just from one stream, he hasn't talked about what came from the party, what came from Flagstaff House, just one stream. So they outspent us. In spite of all that, even if we had to go by the official numbers declared by the Electoral Commission, we had 137 seats and 137 seats, 137, 137. Presidential, our numbers, if you look at our numbers cumulatively, we went up by almost 1 million votes. Okay? MPP numbers dropped by 347,000. So if you look at it from that context, we did extremely well, even though there were issues.
Oh, wow.
How do we improve on the speed with which we are able to get our results and all that? People say we did not collate our results. That's not real. We collated our results. Results are collated from constituencies and regions. And it's brought to the national. So it's those results that we put together, you know. And our job as election directorate was to do or make sure that we recruit, train agents, monitor printing of electoral materials, its distribution. So when that process ends, then we hand over to the IT for collation and transmission. And all those things, so we can improve on them.
Quickly, before our break, some of your critics say that the NDC has lost the elections under you, 2 of them. What makes you the person to carry this party forward?
Which 2, please?
You lost the last election. You were director of elections.
Yes. So
okay,
that's
so
1.
That's 1. You lost the election as director of elections.
Yes.
Why are you the man to take this party forward?
So I'm giving you the data.
The data.
Data doesn't lie. That we improved significantly. In spite of all that the MPP did. One, they outspent us by a ratio of 100 to 1. They used violence and intimidation.
So this has nothing to do with you as director of elections? No, it has nothing to do with me.
Okay. In fact, if you look at the kind of what we did, you know, within a short period, okay? I mean, just around November, and we're able to train all these agents. You're looking at 38,000 polling stations, and if you're training even 4 persons, look at the numbers. Within a certain short period, we're able to train all these agents and deploy them, okay, before election day. That's what people should address their minds to.
That's the hard job.
You know, extremely difficult, and we did it.
Okay. Hold your thoughts for us. It's getting interesting. After the break, we talk about Elvis's chances as General Secretary of the NDC. We also assess the chances of the NDC in the next elections. It's going to be really fun. Stay tuned. Your life on Expressive. Welcome back. You're live on Expressive. We're here on the stage with Director of Elections of the NDC and our friend Elvis AFRIYIE ANKRAH. It's our friend, but we're tough on everybody.
No, we just
ask
want to
everybody.
know certain things. I personally want to know this. I mean, Esiedun Ketia here, he's not going anymore for General Secretary. I dare to say a lot of people in the political space feared him and, revered him, respected him.
Both.
I'm asking myself, what are you going to do differently from Esiedun Ketia? That's one. And also, you mentioned that you're a Rollins boy, you're a Tamils boy, you're a Mahama boy, and all of it. And we know the whole conflict or misunderstanding between the Rollinses and the NDC. If you're given the mandate as General Secretary, are you telling us, telling your members that you're going to unify the NDC, bring all the Rollinses on board, including Nana Kunedu Rollins?
Definitely unifying the party is going to be, and that is what puts me in a very strategic position, because I engage and I have solid relationship with everybody. So, but as to individuals, I don't think it's appropriate to talk about that now, because the individuals must also be willing. So, but the general approach will be to bring everybody on board. I know so many people, and it's not as if there's a deliberate attempt to sideline anybody. It's just the evolution of the party and even our society. For example, a lot of our senior cadres, they are not used to all this WhatsApp and all that.
Yes.
And a lot of the conversations and discussions go on WhatsApp.
Happening there.
They've been cut off. How do you engage such people?
Interesting.
And make them feel that they will be part, or they are part of the system, and it will make them committed to the victory. You see, we are both physical and spiritual beings. So you don't want to have very key strategic people walking around with bitterness. Of course, there is some bitterness which is unfounded.
Yes.
If you've harbored bitterness in your heart for no good reason, you will die. But I'm talking about people who genuinely feel that they've been, neglected. There's a way in which you bring them back and bring the spirits of the party back. That is what wins you an election. So that would be a major thing, and I believe I am well positioned to do that.
Let me squeeze this in quickly before we wrap it up. I'm going to talk about the chances of the NDC in the next 2 years, but to juxtapose that question that you're going to answer, what do you describe? Give me one word you describe this government as. What's the one word that comes to mind when you assess the performance of this government?
Can your producer put it on the screen? It's a kakistocracy.
Our producers will start writing that. What would you say? Kakistocracy.
And then you put them in.
What does that mean? Educate us.
It's a government by very bad people, corrupt people, a clique of family and friends who have no values, who are extremely corrupt, and they just do things to pursue their own agenda. It's not about the country. And it's clear, this country is on
What are the
autopilot.
NDC's chances against this kakistocracy?
The NDC's chances are extremely good, super good, but I want to caution, because you talk to people and
sounds like it's a done.
Oyomo is a very dangerous lexicon in political vocabulary. In an election, you have not won until the results have been declared. So I want to use this opportunity to caution everybody. Yes, based on everything that is going on, the MPP will be lucky to even get 40-45%. Yes,
Can we quote you on that?
Genuine votes. But we know that there's a lot of manipulation that goes on, a lot of moneycracy. Do you know that in the northern region, the last elections, in some constituencies, people actually sent bullion vans. They packed bullion vans and were distributing money. Money.
Wow.
I mean, it's crazy. That is why I'm saying this economy is in a mess. They overspent and outspent and misspent.
But the NDC is confident against this kakistocracy.
Yes,
I like the word. I'm going to research.
We need to be consistently focused on the ultimate agenda till the last day. Consistently focused, keep our eyes on the ball, never take our eyes off the ball for a second, never assume that we have won irrespective of the evidence or everything that shows, till the results are declared. And the victory must be a decisive victory. There's a kind of victory that when you have, it's easy to manipulate. Okay, if the number is 50, 51%, you know.
You can manipulate.
But if you win 58%,
Nobody can manipulate it.
J-Mensa will have no choice but than to announce.
declare.
Well, all the best of luck in the next
We
2
wish you
years.
well. And of course, we wish you well.
Let's squeeze in
your
something quickly.
contest,
Another World Cup is coming up.
Yes.
I'm interested in
Asamoah
that.
Gyan wants to return to the Black Stars.
Asamoah Gyan wants to
I
return.
believe
We
you know
have
him.
5 foreign players as well. You follow football. You love our football.
I mean, I think you've been minister.
Yeah, minister.
You're a minister, so you get it.
Yes.
How would you
I
handle this
was
situation?
asked that question. I said, it's not an emotional decision. No, it should not be based on sentiment. It should be based on facts. So the coach and the technical team must look at this. Match fitness, physical fitness, psychological fitness, how it fits into the entire game plan, you know, how his presence in the team will either add or subtract or create unity or division or whatever it is, and the overall strategy. If they look at all these things, they'll be able to take a decision based on facts, not on sentiments.
Right.
So, I mean, it's...
But what's
wonderful
your
sports
personal
minister.
advice to the team and the officials
Ahead
and
of
the
Qatar.
management ahead of this World Cup?
So, if the minister would listen to me, he shouldn't get himself involved in supporters. I had problems because I wanted to. Can you imagine? Government said they didn't have money. I said, oh, I'll raise money for the supporters.
Personally.
Yes. So I went around corporate Ghana and raising money. That's how all my problems started.
Right.
So they should just
get-
leave the
Stay
support.
supporters.
If you want to go buy your ticket, collect your visa and go to Qatar, find your way. You can
won't
start
have a
working.
lot of
You
support,
can start working now. It's not worth the hustle, believe me. Number 2, the issues about the team's remuneration should be sorted out.
Before
The
they
challenge I had was that the things were not clear. The players were the 100,000. Government said they'll give them 75. Then it went up to 82.5. We went to talk to them. They won't agree. Back and forth. Then eventually they said they want cash. You pay kind of live Philly. What would you do?
Before they play.
Exactly. So you don't want those things. And those things are beyond you. So all these things can be settled if right from the beginning we agree. This is what we're going to give them the money or pay them part or whatever it is, the mode of payment, you know, so that the poor minister, when players say they're not going to train in the tournament, what do you do? You know, so those are the things.
That's a difficult issue.
Very difficult. Then, of course, preparation. Like I said, there's no more magic in elections or football. It's preparation. With physical preparation, psychological preparation, having confidence in yourself, having self-belief that the sky is the limit. You know, 2014, I had confidence in the team. But it looks like the team probably didn't have confidence in themselves. Because eventually, if you look at the match with Germany, we played 2-2. And that match was determined as the best match of the entire tournament. 2-2. And nobody was able to score Germany 2 goals. And Germany won the World Cup. So it tells you that if they had a proper mindset and focus, we would have, well, no, maybe not win, but I was looking at semi-finals or something. So preparation. Discipline in camp, you know, ensure that when it's curfew time, no strange people are entering the hotel and entering rooms.
They're listening
We're
to
going
us.
to another hour to
I
do
hope
this.
they're listening to Elvis AFRIYIE ANKRAH on this. Prepare.
You see the way
Decide on what you want to give them from
You see the way his
here.
energy came up when the sports came up.
passionate
there.
about
It's like
it.
preparation. Let's do some
Let's do
celebration.
some
shall we?
celebration.